Well, I'm not going to recommend that you cut my guest today, but if you did, he would probably bleed music. Between putting out 7 solo CDs, touring the world with the likes of Sebastian Bach, Leslie West, of course, Ace Frehley, the Emperor of Rock and Roll, Richie Scarlett, is here today. Welcome, Richie.
All right.
So
well, thank you very much.
Here, man.
Great to be here, Mike.
Oh, you know, and in full disclosure, I've been following your career for a number of years. So let's some of the stuff we've never really talked about, going back to the beginning, I want to know.
Okay.
When did it become apparent to you that this guitar playing thing was going to be more than a hobby? It was going to be a vocation, actually.
Probably when I was in like junior high school. I started. I started winning all these battle of the bands, you know, and most of the band guys were older than me, and you know, I started winning them, you know, and I was like, wow, you know. And also, I think the main reason is my first band, I was a drummer, and I was a drummer all through, like, you know, elementary school. You know, I'm in 7th grade playing with seniors, you know, playing at these like beer parties, and I'm playing, and a girl came up and just went, wow, you know, you're cute. And I'm thinking, this is it, man. I mean, I don't even have to try to pick up girls. So it was, and also, what initially sparked my whole musical life was just like a million other guys. I lived on Bailey Avenue in the Bronx, New York. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I was like 8, 7 maybe. Then that summer I saw A Hard Day's Night. I saw girls chasing these 4 guys around, dressing cool. By the time I got out of the movie and walked up, the writing on it was right on the wall. And then by the time I saw the Stones on Ed Sullivan, that completely solidified it. So I kind of already, it was just in the cards.
Yeah,
like, you know, and my mother always encouraged music to me, and then when Jimi Hendrix came out, you know, I was looking at this record, and I was with one of the toughest guys in New York, this guy Michael Munley, real like psycho with love on one finger, hate on the other. And I'm looking at the record, and I had no money, and I put it away, and I turned around, he was gone. I go out on the street, and he's waving me down to him, and he pulls out the Jimi Hendrix Experience record, and he goes, here, it's for you. And I'm like, for me? And so I went home and put that record on. I was a drummer, but then I heard Purple Haze. And then all of a sudden the calling for guitar really started coming in.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, I did not know you were a drummer.
Yes, I was. I still play drums. I play actually 11 instruments. I play all string instruments, sitar, dulcimer, you know, mandolin, and you know, harmonica and bass and keyboards and all.
Well, I recently found out that you play piano by seeing that clip on YouTube, and not just play piano, you play really well. So.
Thank you very much. Took any lessons. My Irish aunts would like tell me I had a gift from God when I was a young kid. I would just doodle around. Everything just came very natural, very easy. And like I said, my mother really encouraged my art and my music. And I was one of those kids that would go to the Fillmore East, you know, as a young kid in New York City and Madison Square Garden and see all these bands. And I don't know, it was just everything, I never really plotted anything out. It all just fell into a course. And I'm very blessed to still be out here doing this, absolutely blessed.
Well, and people know you primarily as a lead guitarist, but as we talked about, you play all these other instruments. You spent a few years alongside Leslie West playing bass.
I was in Mountain for quite a while with Corky Lang.
Yeah.
And Leslie had called me up, and with his voice, he said to me, hey man, I want you to play bass. And I go, I'm a lead guitar player. He goes, I know you are. He goes, look at Ronnie Wood when he played with Jeff Beck, man. And I understood that a lot because I loved Ronnie Wood's bass playing. And he said to me, I don't want a bass player that goes boom, 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 boom. That was 8 years I had spent with Mountain, toured all over the world, and I was a lot of my vibrato actually came from the big man, Leslie West and Mountain. So I was a fan, and he gave me about 25 songs to learn. I said to Leslie, are we gonna get together, rehearse? He goes, no, I don't rehearse. Just learn the freaking songs. So that was an adventure, and playing bass actually toughened my fingers up. And
I was gonna ask about that transition. I saw you guys one time do a version of Crossroads that is seared into my memory.
that's where I really got to tear it up, because a lot of those songs, Leslie would come up to me and say, "Hey man, I already played with Jack Bruce, I already played with Felix Pappalardi, just keep it simple, solid." But Crossroads, I was able to really just let it all hang out, and we would just tear that song up. And so that was for me to play with Leslie West. My life has been, I've gotten the opportunity to play alongside of people that I grew up listening to, whether it's Alice Cooper or Leslie West and Mountain, or all kinds of people. The first person I ever saw on TV when I was like 5 was Chubby Checker, and I am now on Chubby Checker's brand new record, which is called Changes. It's on the gospel charts right now. I had recently done a rockabilly record by a man named Charlie Gracie, who I didn't know anything about, but his manager called and said, "You're the guy." And I said, "I never really heard of Charlie." And he said, "Look him up on YouTube." And there was Charlie Gracie in 1958 with his arm around Eddie Cochran. Oh. And Eddie Cochran's one of my rock and roll heroes. So I called this guy right back. I said, even if he doesn't like the way I play guitar, I just want to shake his hand. And Charlie Gracie's actually a great guitarist. Long story short, it turned out that Charlie just wanted to sing this song, and I did all the guitars on this record. It's called Baby Doll. The song went to #1 all across the nation. His first #1 hit since 1958, when he had a #1 hit called Butterfly. And
speaking of #1s, you had a #1 off of your
I did have a #1 song, which, the funny thing is, Mike, all the years, all these CDs I've had out, nobody really would give me the time of day. I had a #1 song across all 3 independent charts here in America last year with a song called "Without Your Love." Mm-hmm. I don't even like the freaking song; it's like a pop song, but
what's wrong with pop?
But I never. But Chubby Checker's manager, Gary Leftowitz, heard the song. He said, "I'm going to have the song on the charts," and I'm like, "Yeah, right." Everybody talks that talk.
Right.
Sure enough. The next thing you know, I'm on the charts with Madonna, Justin Bieber, and my wife Joanne called me and said, "You're not gonna believe this, but your record's climbing up the charts." It went to #1. Also, I'd like to thank Eddie Trunk for that, for playing it a lot.
Mm-hmm. How many times must I feel the way I do? And how many times must I fall in and out of love with you? Days were filled with pain. Without your love, it's a feeling inside, and it's something I just can't explain. Without your love.
And all of a sudden, all these people that didn't give a freak about me say, "Hey, Rich, we'd like to do an interview with you." And I said, "Well, that's funny. You never wanted to talk to me before." Well, Rich, you have a #1 song now, So it's all politics, but you're right.
Yeah.
I did, and this was my most successful CD. I plead the fifth, Mike, because I'm always guilty.
And guilty of playing all the instruments on this,
I do most. I do all the
drums.
keyboards, and except Peter Gallinari from Nashville did some keyboards, and Sage Wilson on drums. I had Joey Mollard from Badfinger on here, along with my wife Joanne doing backup vocals. I had Dennis Dunaway. I had John Regan, who I played with years ago with Ace Frehley. Mm-hmm. John went on to play with Frampton, all kinds of people. I had Des Cadena from the Misfits is on here, Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses, Louis Spag. So I was, and Lenny D'Alessio took this cover. He's one of the great rock and roll photographers. And it was produced by Tarek Solangi. So the whole package of this record, I was just very lucky that it all came together, and here it is. And if you don't like this CD, I'm telling you, it makes a fantastic coaster or a beer holder, however way you want to make it.
Well, and now you're obviously not just a player. You're a fan. You're an historian. Somewhat, I've always been blown away by your rock and roll knowledge. Any guilty pleasures in your record collection? I'll come clean. I have the Partridge Family CD out in my car right now.
I didn't have the Partridge Family, but I had over 10,000 albums at one point, and actually Ace purchased them off me like 20 years ago. I'm trying to think. I had some cornball. I actually had Jim Neighbors on 8-track.
Really? Yeah, which is where he belongs.
Yeah. I had it on 8-track. It was still sealed. And I got it at a flea market. I mean, I never really listened to it, but that was probably the corniest record I had in my collection.
That's great.
I really liked Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Those were kind of corny, but such well-crafted pop songs.
Absolutely.
With Leon Russell, playing piano on those tracks, and Snuff Garrett produced them. And my wife always goes like, "This is so corny." Everybody loves a clown. I love that kind of pop, 60s stuff, and so that might be one of the cornier things. But the Partridge Family, cool. I always thought that David Cassidy had the coolest shag in rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely.
He really did. He had that 70s great shag, and so there you go.
So and so you talked about Chubby Checker. You have gotten the opportunity over the years to rub elbows with some of your musical idols.
Yeah.
Any one that stands out as this was really a good experience?
I would say working with the original Alice Cooper group. I was with Glenn Buxton the last 2 weeks of his life, and
wow.
And Michael Bruce, I produced his CD, and I got to play on Neil Smith's CD, Platinum God. And when I was in London a few years back, I went to see Alice. I had never met Alice. I'd worked with all these original members, and I was such a fan when I was a kid. I mean, that was 5 rock stars right there. And his tour manager came and said, Alice wants to meet you. Wait here, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. And Iron Maiden was there. These guys are huge in England. The guy came back 5 minutes later. We all started walking down the hallway, and he said, no. Not you guys, just Richie Scarlet. He's like selling Iron Maiden. So he walked me to about 3 doors like I was going to see the president. And he opened the door, and Alice got up off the couch and hugged me and thanked me for taking care of Glenn Buxton. And just working with those guys, because they really were Love It to Death, Killer, School's Out, $1 Billion. Those records, I saw all those tours when I was in high school. So I'd say that was probably one of my favorite things where I got to actually play with my rock and roll heroes.
Okay.
And I'd like to push Dennis Dunaway's new book, Snakes, Guillotines, and Electric Chairs, it's called. Just was released last week. Phenomenal book. I can't stop reading it, so there you go.
Awesome. Well, and speaking of musical heroes, you are back on the road with Mr. Ace Frehley himself. You go back to, 84 with Ace? Is that when you guys
1984 is when I first hooked up with Ace. I did his very first tour in 85 when no one knew what he looked like without the makeup.
Right.
We did just a short Northeast tour. And, then things happened, and I ended up not playing with him for a few years. And I came back in 89. I did the album Trouble Walking with Ace. Co-wrote a bunch of those tracks, and we do a song on the set called Too Young to Die, which I wrote on that record and sang, even though a lot of people think it's Peter Criss singing, but it is me. I got that whiskey tenor.
The other raspy guy.
Yeah, but I was with Ace then again for the second time from 89 to 96. And now I'm around my third time around after almost 20 years. My wife Joanne, behind my back, not knowing it, was talking to Ace about of us getting back together. This is last November, late October, early November. I was at a rehearsal for my own show. She calls me so excited, saying, "I've got to tell you something. You got to come home." And I was like, okay, I'll be home. I got home around midnight. I walk in the door. She takes her cell phone, says to me, "I did it." And I said, "You did what?" And she put the cell phone in my face, and it said, "I want the Emperor back in my band." Oh. And she had been talking with Ace for about a week, putting this together, and I had no idea this was going to happen. Oh. So then I called Ace. She's like, "He's waiting for you to call him," and all he said was Scarlet, and he starts laughing. I said, "Ace," I'm started laughing, and he flew me to San Diego, and that's where I met one of the most incredible bass players in rock and roll, Chris Wise and Scotty Coogan, and none of us had played together, and we went into a rehearsal place in San Diego, and after 10 minutes, you could just feel the chemistry was right, and to be back with the Ace, I really never expected it, so all that really goes to Joanne Scarlett for putting that all back together, and I could tell you the Ace is completely sober. I never knew him sober. I always knew Ace kind of as a cartoon character.
Right.
It was a little stiff maybe the first couple of days with him, and then he loosened up and his personality came out. Only he's sober, but his crazy personality. Right. And when he reached over and grabbed my nuts in the middle of a solo, that was one thing he used to do once in a while. That told me that everything was cool, everything was great. So to be with Ace Frehley now, we just got back from Europe. We just did Hellfest with ZZ Top, Marilyn Manson, Alice Cooper, 70,000 people. We just did Sweden Rock with Judas Priest. We did the Donington Festival with Muse, and these are huge festivals.
Yeah.
And then all the theaters in Germany completely sold out. And before that was in the whole month of June. In May, we were in Australia, New Zealand, which I've never been to before. And this band has got a chemistry, and we just get on stage and kick it. And Ace, I'm so proud of Ace Frehley, and I'm so honored to be back playing with him. Because like Ace says, Scarlett, you and I are the dynamic duo. So,
well, and kudos to Ace for raising the bar musically. I mean, I've seen you guys play together. You're not a rhythm guitarist. You
no,
got
I'm not.
two lead guitarists going.
Right,
in this
he gives
band,
me that opportunity.
Yeah.
He'll look at me and just start going, "Go ahead, man, play some lead."
Yeah.
And you know, he gives me so much freedom, and just lets me perform and be myself. Which is,
and it
just
works.
wonderful. It's
I
just
can
wonderful.
imagine there would be guitar players that wouldn't. There would be, you know.
I think Ace
Frehley
Frehley is one of the only guitar players that I ever really enjoyed playing with. I was always used to being in a power trio and playing all the rhythm and lead myself. But with the Ace, there's a certain chemistry that we have that is uncanny. And almost 20 years later, it's still as if I never left.
That's
you know?
awesome. That's awesome. And I'm not going to keep you much longer. I know you got a show to do tonight, but you did mention the lovely Joanne, your wife. You guys celebrated an anniversary recently?
Yes, we had our 20th anniversary in, I believe it was St. Charles, Illinois, last year. Ace was at our wedding, and so he called her out on stage, and that was just, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's so cool.
You know, I'm very lucky to have Joanne. I'm sure I'd be probably long gone by now. But here's an old school New York woman who accepted my lifestyle and being on tour. And I took her to Europe with me. We had a blast. And she is a woman that everybody loves. Every movie star I know, every rock star, they all love my wife, Joanne. So if anybody was looking for any merch, go to Joanne Scarlett on Facebook, and she will send you out anything you're looking for. She handles all my business and all the merchandise. So just look her up on Facebook, and she'll take care of that for you. And I must say, Mike, I remember going to see you doing stand-up probably 20 years ago, and we had a lot of great times. And you're still in the business, of the media and the entertainment business, and you're still doing stand-up. And it's always a pleasure to see you, man.
God bless you, Richie.
Absolutely, God bless you.
The Emperor of Rock and Roll.
And Psycho Babble, Midwest #1 show, hands down.
Without your love, it's a feeling inside, and it's never the